How you doing? This is the guy from Pittsburgh, and I'm wearing the headphones in an experiment. I can't hear anything, so I'm going to disconnect them. I guess it only works if I'm doing a podcast with Audacity. Hold on a minute. Ooh. Okay. I'll be glad one day when I get a MacBook, because then I don't have to sit here chained to this computer all the time. I can be out and about. Anyway, before I talk about the news stories tonight, I want to talk about the religious wackos that call Art Bell, George Noory, George Knapp. I don't know about John D. Wells. I haven't listened to much of him lately. But I remember when think tank, the Rand Corporation, said in the 50s that if we revealed the presence of extraterrestrials, that people would freak out, religions would fall, religionists would commit suicide and panic if they heard that extraterrestrials had landed on this planet. Well, these people that call up Knapp last night that think that Bigfoot, UFOs, ghosts, and anything paranormal are demons or nuts. If they don't get a job, is that the fault of demons? If they go out with a girl on a date and she doesn't like him, is that demonology? Is that Satan? And they always tell you how they run around banging on your door, praising the Lord. Well, as far as my religion's concerned, there's only one Lord, and he's the guy with the G word, and it ain't General Mills. It's God. But these guys, they're obsessed with demons. They think everything out there that they can't explain is a fault of a demon or Satan. And I don't know what they'd do if extraterrestrials did openly land and show to the entire world that they exist. These people would probably blow their brains out or completely freak out and start taking everybody with them. Because their paradigm is such that all they can think about is everything that they can't understand because they don't have the intelligence is the fault of a demon or Satan. They think everything evil in the world is satanic. And that's just crazy. There's billions of worlds out there. We're discovering more planets every day. And one day I'm convinced we're going to find extraterrestrial life somehow. Even if it means we have to develop warp drive to go do it, or something the equivalent of to go to the stars. We have to get off this planet one day, because in about 5 billion years, this planet ain't going to be here when the sun supposedly turns into a red dwarf or a red giant. I can't remember which, but given the solar activity right now, the sun might just go to sleep one day and we'd all freeze to death. I don't know. Anyway, let's see what the news stories are tonight. Okay, this is the number one story as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if Noory covered it. From Edward Snowden leaked documents has nothing to do with Edward Snowden. According to a story posted by Iran's Fars news agency, the U.S. government has been under the control of a shadow government. Well, I believe that. But overseen by extraterrestrials who helped the Nazis in the 1930s. The news agency suggests the documents revealed by Snowden are part of a Russian Federal Security Service report which states the information provides incontrovertible proof that an alien extraterrestrial intelligence agenda is driving U.S. domestic and international policy, has been doing so since 1946. Oh, that's 45. Sorry about that. The Washington Post and other news sources have pointed out that Iran's quasi-official news agency has a tendency for fanciful tales and fabricated quotes. Yes, they do. But what has to be clarified is how the reputation of one prominent member of the community of UFO believers, former Canadian Defense Minister Paul Hellyer, has been exploited and misrepresented. Sorry about that. Hellyer allegedly confirmed the Farr's story was totally accurate, but let's do a little checking. Hellyer is outspoken about the belief that Earth has been visited by ETs. He denies any connection to the original source of this Nazi space alien yarn. Toronto's Xeon Communications News Network, on behalf of Hellyer, sent correspondence to the Washington Post, including Mr. Hellyer categorically rejects any and all statements and sources which in any manner serve to associate Mr. Hellyer with Edward Snowden, Mr. Snowden's documents, the NSA, the FSB, the website whatdoesitmean.com, and the Farr's News. At no time was Mr. Hellyer in communication with any of these entities. We must insist the Washington Post publish a full retraction as well as a public apology to Mr. Hellyer. Hellyer, 90, was Canada's Minister of Defense during the 1960s. After his retirement, he became the first cabinet-level politician from a Great Britain country to go on the record claiming that extraterrestrials were already on Earth. Gee, what happened to the guy in Grenada who was talking about UFOs? He was our prime minister, and that was a Great Britain associated country or a colony at one time. They even overthrew him after he said he believed in UFOs and was pushing for the UN to investigate the matter. So I guess that colonies don't count. While some might link tall whites to Hellyer's idealized super race of white Aryans, Hellyer never made such an assertion. That false connection seems to be how the Canadian politician got snagged in the mess. Farr's didn't even write the story. It merely reprinted the whole thing word for word. It originated earlier in on the ultra-fringe conspiracy theory website whatdoesitmean.com. Was written by Source of Fall, Sister Maria Teresa, the 73rd Source of Fall of the Source of Fall Order, elected as Mother Superior 3 February 2007. The story contained references to Hellyer's appearance on Russia Today, where he mentioned the tall white aliens. Then Fall reported tall whites were included in Snowden's alleged alien-related documents. Of course, there's no proof that Snowden's documents had such a reference either. Then Farr's News picked up the story. This report has been wired from whatdoesitmean.com. All responsibility for the veracity, authenticity, and reliability of this report relies, which is the original source, whatdoesitmean.com. Would have helped if Farr's had added the piece of information at the top of the story rather than all the way down at the bottom. But what fun is that? You put it on the bottom, nobody's going to believe it anyway. Not that anybody believes this story, but it sure makes copy, don't it? Farr's even explains why it decided to reprint the story in the first place. We've been seeking to inform its viewers of these stories which are ignored by the mainstream media, especially in the West. A part of our efforts is focus on such reports. In doing so, we try to cover some specifically controversial topics in different reports to give our viewers a chance to study them from various perspectives. Well, I guess journalistic fact-checking at Farr's is something they don't know how to do anymore. Maybe the Imam forbid real journalism. God knows we don't have enough of it in this country with the rubber stamp people we got at the networks, except for Fox. And there it is in a nutshell. Farr's is off the hook as to where this story originated. It started in December when Hellyer appeared on television, where his claims about ET are unearthed, claims he's made for years. He was one of the many speakers in front of former members of Congress at the citizen hearing on disclosure in 2013. And so this story is very strange. Why does Hellier, the question is, why does Hellier maintain his story about aliens visiting Earth? If he could offer some real tangible evidence for his claims, that would be interesting. So, so that's what that. Aliens are on Earth, but I got no proof. Okay, this is a Linda Bolton House story, or it should be. Pesticides are causing bees to shrink. Experts believe honeybees exposed to pesticides are becoming smaller and weaker. I feel sorry for the bees. I like watching them flitter around the flowers when it's warm. Scientists have long speculated the increase of pesticides in farming can be a contributing factor in colony collapse disorder, but now a team of the researchers in the UK has conducted laboratory testing that appears to confirm pesticides are having a negative effect. A common type of pesticides used on flowering plants is stunning the growth of worker bees, making them smaller and less capable. We know that larger bumblebees are more effective at foraging. One result is the pesticide causes bees to hatch out of the smaller size. Is of concern. The size of workers is a key component in colony success, with smaller bees being less efficient at collecting nectar and pollen from flowers. The worldwide decline in bee populations has been a grave concern in recent years, as bee pollination is an essential component of our own food chain. Scientists are looking to alternate methods of pest control in an effort to stop the decline before it is too late. We kill off the bees, we kill off our food. And that's a message to Monsanto and companies that keep putting out this crap that's killing the animals and the bees and making people sick, and their GMO garbage. They need to stop that stuff. Okay, let's see here. This is kind of almost an alien anal probe story, but except with aliens, it's done with police. Medics and excessively confident law enforcement officers are facing federal lawsuits after first David Eckert in New Mexico, and then a 54-year-old woman in El Paso were repeatedly anally examined in ultimately fruitless searches for ingested drugs. Search of Eckert began when a traffic officer thought he was clenching his buttocks during a stop search of the woman began at the Mexico border when she was selected randomly. Oh boy, they're going to subject you to the anal probe you. Isn't that fun? For additional screening, and a police dog gestured toward her. I guess the dog is trained to sniff people's butts, or maybe to use an anal probe. Maybe they found that in Roswell. Both victims endured hours of detention and bodily invasions as officers and medics, continually finding nothing, used different tests to justify their initial suspicion. Eckert received 3 enemas and a colonoscopy. Not a single trace of drugs was found in either victim, and both have sued for the trauma and because both medical centers in Silver City, New Mexico and El Paso billed the victims personally for the forced procedure. Oh, isn't that fun? We're going to probe you for drugs, and we don't find anything. We're going to bill you for the probe. I hope these 2 people sue the federal government every dime they can. Chinese internet traffic redirected to small Wyoming building. Now, this is curious. Much of the internet traffic in China was recently redirected to a mysterious company in Cheyenne, Wisconsin. A large portion of China's 500 million internet users were unable to load websites ending in .com, .net, or .org for nearly 8 hours in most regions of China, according to CompuWare. The China Internet News Network Information Center, a state-run agency that deals with internet affairs, said it had traced the problem to the country's domain name system, and one of China's biggest antivirus vendors, Qihu 380 Technology, said the problems affected roughly 3/4 of the country's domain name servers. routed traffic from some of China's most popular sites, including Baldu and Sina, went to a small building in Cheyenne on a residential street and then moved to a 2-story building last year. That address, home to 2,000 companies that exist only on paper, was the subject of a lengthy 2001 Reuters investigation. The address was a shell company controlled by a jailed former Ukrainian prime minister, the owner of a company charged with helping online poker operators evade an internet gambling ban, and one of them was banned from government contracts after selling counterfeit truck parts to the Pentagon. So the Chinese are getting kind of hacked, and they're responsible for hacking. What comes around, goes around, comes around, I guess. Let's see. Low-tech thief Kevin Cook, 25, told police he was mugged in New York City's Central Park on December 28th. But the thief had grabbed only his cell phone. Since it was a flip phone, the thief took a bemused look at it and asked, "What the bleep is this?" threw it back to Cook and walked away empty-handed. Cook, perhaps a big defensive, pointed out it was a new style flip phone. I guess they only want those iPhones or those Androids, none of those cheesy flip phones for Mr. Robert. Let's see. Oh, our Army at work and our government at work losing money as usual. The Army Corps of Engineers spent $5.4 million on trash incinerators on a forward operating base that were in disrepair, and they couldn't be fixed, but they wasted $5 million in Afghanistan doing it. We're spending all kinds of money in Afghanistan building solar farmers markets with full air conditioning and roller things to wash the fruits and the vegetables so they can sell them in the markets, because it gets 140 in the daytime in Afghanistan. I ain't going to move there anytime soon. And we spent $5 or $6 or $7 million in 5 cities all over Afghanistan. We can spend money on that, but we can't spend money on our infrastructure. Obama's cutting veterans benefits. Obama's cutting housing allowances, and he's doing everything to screw the veterans that are protecting us and our interests around the world and losing their lives and limbs in the process. But solar farmers markets, yeah, let's spend that money in Afghanistan. Our priorities are screwed up, folks. And that's not a political comment, that's just the truth as I see it. Let's see. There's a guy in Denver. He robs banks. He's in his 50s, about 5'8". Glad they didn't say 6'2". He robbed 3 banks in the area in December. Faces up to 60 years in prison. He employs a finely detailed disguise. He robs banks, wears a medical mask, and lugs around a portable oxygen supply. Maybe it's Darth Vader. I don't know. My dad used to drag one of those things around. They aren't easy to drag around, particularly when going up hills. Okay, let's see here. From the November 11th weekly report of the Dakota County, Minnesota Sheriff's Office came word the Hastings Police Department, a sergeant arriving to investigate a fight in a store's parking lot, encountered only a single car with several young men inside. These guys should get the Darwin Award. Not that they died, but they should be certainly candidates for Stupid Crooks of the Year so far. The sergeant said he strolled to the car to ask about a fight, was preempted when one of the men said, "I know why you're here," pulled 3 pairs of pants shafted from the store and from inside his shirt. He was arrested. I love stories like that. Stupid crook stories. They're great. Let's see what else is here. There's another stupid crook. Man applies for job, then steals from cash register. A man in Florida filled out a job application. He also helped himself to $130 from the cash register, then walked out. He must not have realized as a regular customer he had provided them with his real name and information on a job application. When the police quickly tracked him down, it likely wasn't the follow-up call he was hoping for. Oh, here's a weird one. Newspaper carrier finds bomb in teddy bear. Newspaper carriers deliver hard-copy versions of newspapers every day. The job description doesn't mention bomb squad watch. One local newspaper carrier, he noticed a teddy bear lying in the road. He retrieved it when a mechanical device fell out. The carrier notified the police. Noticed the device smoking and alerted the police. This woman should have an S in her chest. Woman claws way out of locked bathroom as in Shawshank Redemption. On Friday night at 10 p.m., a worker stopped in the woman's restroom before heading home, but became locked in the bathroom without a cell phone. With security officers of the building not around, she was left with no choice but to begin breaking out of the bathroom herself. After about 8 hours, she was able to smash the walls and get to the doors open from the outside. Well, I had that happen to me in Nordstrom once. They had a small handicapped bathroom, went in there, did my thing, went to open the door, and the door went open. No matter what I did, the door wouldn't open. And I banged on the door for about 20 minutes. My girlfriend, waiting in the restaurant in Nordstrom, realized where was I. Finally decided to find out what was taking me so long. I told her to get help. The door wouldn't open. They had to bring a maintenance guy with a crowbar, and that's how they got the door open. Well, they finally remodeled that bathroom about 6 months ago, and now it's got a big push-in door and multiple stalls, and you can't get locked in there anymore. Here's a cute story. Recruiter forgets to hang up leaves adorable voicemail. When a recruiter left a voicemail for a client, she was professional, but after she thought she hung with the phone, she launched to a different role. One that clamored over her pet and sang, "You're in demand, my little bear bear. You're so sweet, my little care bear, my little care bear." I don't know what the client felt to hear that. Maybe he thought she was talking about him. Let's see. And always make sure you pay your tech people. After teenage hardcore bands skipped out in paying their sound engineer, the recording professional found a way to settle the tab creatively. He reworked their song and video to mash up the band's hardcore rock with electronic dance music. The result was both cringeworthy and satisfying. Sorry about that. Even with the new glasses, I can't see all the time. I like this story. Workers' comp scam collapses after claimant goes on The Price is Right. A North Carolina postal carrier on workman's comp after an on-the-job injury was busted for fraud. She was caught during an appearance in Price is Right. She spun the show's heavy wheel twice. Contrary to her workers' comp claims, she was unable to stand, sit, kneel, squat, climb, bend, reach, or grasp. Apparently, conditions were also right to get her caught in her lie. Hope she won a car or something worth to make it worth it. Oh, this is cute. Hospital on Long Island is now monitoring its staff with motion sensors and video cameras in the enter a patient's room. What are they watching for? To make staff members wash their hands. Staff members have been slacking off in the safety check, which has major consequences. Hospital-acquired infections have cost $30 billion and led to nearly 100,000 patient deaths a year. I've always thought hospitals are a place where you can get killed. You can die in them places. They're dangerous. An ancient tablet reveals new details about Noah's Ark. The 4,000-year-old clay tablet containing the story of the Ark and the flood stands on display at the British Museum during the launch of the book The Ark Before Noah by Irving Finkel, curator in charge of cuneiform clay tablets at the British Museum. The original Noah's Ark, new research suggests, was round. A recently deciphered clay tablet from Iraq reveals new details about the roots of the Old Testament tale of Noah. It tells a similar story, complete with instructions for building a giant round vessel known as a coracle, as well as a key instruction that animals should enter 2 by 2. The tablet went on display at the British Museum on Friday, and soon engineers will know the ancient instructions to see where the vessel could have actually sailed. It's also the subject of a new book, The Ark Before Noah by Irving Finkel. Finkel got a hold of it a few years ago when a man brought in a damaged tablet his father had acquired in the Middle East after World War II. It was light brown, about the size of a mobile phone, and covered in cuneiform script of the ancient Mesopotamians. And it was a real surprise, he says, to find out the boat was round. Other experts said Finkel wasn't simply indulging in book promotion hype. David Owen, professor of ancient Near Eastern studies at Cornell, said the British Museum curator had made an extraordinary discovery. Other experts said much the same thing. So you had a round boat. I guess that floats better than a pointy boat, but there goes my Noah's Ark. I got my Noah's Ark right here. Well, you'll excuse me. Let me see here. It's not round. There's my Avon Noah's Ark. Of course, if you've been to Kennywood in Pittsburgh, they got the Noah's Ark ride. Been there for, 60 years or something. I also got a Noah's Ark menorah. But I'll continue to believe in the way my Noah's Ark looks until they can prove something. Let's see what else is here. Oh, this is a good one. Burglar stymied when he pulls door marked push. A would-be burglar was stopped in his tracks when he failed to break into a Chicago, Illinois neighborhood bar. He was pulling the door marked push. The bumbling crook was caught on surveillance footage entering the Shambles Winter Vestibule, a temporary covering in front of the bar where he was protected from view. Then at the bar's front door, he was able to remove the lock. About 2 o'clock in the morning, he's seen pulling on the door with some might, managed to dislodge security door brace. Despite getting past the door brace, which works to prevent doors from being pushed in, the sticker on the door that read push, the determined but challenged thief was still unable to enter the bar. The Shambles owner said it's funnier on the video, but the still shot saw him pulling on the door. He could have pushed it. There's another Darwin Award candidate. Hopefully the cops caught him and he went to jail. And then we had that caller the other night who thought Foo Fighters were human technology. Well, in China, they've discovered for the first time natural ball lightning on film. And they use spectrographs, video cameras, recorded the glowing orb of light as it rose 5 meters on above the ground. There have been many research programs that routinely video or photograph natural and triggered lighting, but none, as far as I'm aware, stumbled on ball lightning. The theory goes when lightning strikes the ground, it can store energy in silicon nanoparticles which oxidize releasing their energy in a form of a ball of pure silicon vapor. So they record ball lightning for the first time. Let's see. Here's another climate story, and I think this will be the last one. I see I'm getting kind of long here. A proposal to reduce global warming by using tiny reflective particles has been condemned by scientists. Climate researchers looking for methods to help curb the effects of global warming have proposed injecting tiny reflective particles in the atmosphere to block out the sun. Oh, that's real brilliant. You know, a volcano does that, and you have changes in the environment for years on a major eruption. Scientists look at the idea of warming it could cause more problems than it solves by creating droughts and climate chaos in some of the world's poorest countries. Another high-profile geoengineering method, one involves injecting massive amounts of sulfate particles in the atmosphere to mimic the cooling effects of a volcano. Gee, before I even read the story, there it is. Has also been criticized on similar grounds. We've shown that one of the leading candidates for geoengineering could cause a new unintended side effect over a large part of the planet, said study co-author Andrew Charlton Perez. The risks in this kind of engineering are huge. A reduction in tropical rainfall of 30% would quickly dry out Indonesia so much the wettest years after a man-made intervention would be equal to drought conditions now. While cutting emissions is the most effective way to reduce the effects of man-made global warming, and I keep wondering about that, China and India are churning out massive amounts of pollution. The prevailing winds from China go to the valley out by Merced and Stockton. And yet our CARB and other smog agencies in the state do everything they can to make drivers and industries here suffer when a lot of the smog is coming from China. Why aren't them guys spending money on things in their smokestacks to clean the air before it ever gets out? They've got some of the most heavily polluted, if not the most heavily polluted cities in the world. It looks like Pittsburgh or London in 1948 when you look at pictures of Peking or Beijing. They should be ashamed of themselves if they had any shame, but that's what you get when you got communists and socialists running something. And let me see. Oh yeah, there's one other one. The Martian donut. Now, I don't know where Richard C. Hoagland is this morning, but their Mars rover has found a donut-shaped rock in the middle of the frame of a picture that hadn't been there before. Dubbed Pinnacle Island, the strange boulder has perplexed mission engineers who struggle to determine where it came from. It was a total surprise. It was like, wait a second, that wasn't there before. It can't be right. Oh my God, it wasn't there before. It said lead scientist Steve Squires. We were absolutely startled. They've suggested the rover could have pinged the rock into the frame with its wheels or could have been thrown there by a nearby meteorite impact. Maybe a Martian left it there. Maybe they got a Martian version of Dunkin' Donuts. And one of the donuts, the donut-shaped rock, fell out of the box of a dozen donuts when they were on sale at Dunkin' Donuts Mars. So that's interesting. I want to see what Hoagland says about the Martian Dunkin' Donut. And I'll say goodbye now. Hello, Bell Gabbers, Free Art Bell. Hello, Bill and Nancy Burns, and all my friends. And I'll catch you next time. Have a great day and a great morning. Bye-bye.